You think that's a 10-3 team after what you've seen? Better yet, I bet you it is a 10-3 team. Is it a Super Bowl team? Not in your life. Not a chance. Not a chance. You know, it's a little colder in Texas these days. And I was watching a little bit of the show with Tone with Sports Take with Rob. And I could have swore he wasn't wearing like gloves. He was wearing more boxing gloves. Busting your chops and the national battling show. So he had more like boxing gloves on today. Let's bring Tone up and get his appetite on what he saw.
I'm ready for you, Sills. Let's do it. I'm ready for you.
Hey, first thing comes to your mind on what and how you're feeling off that game.
No.
You know what? I'm not going to load the deck on you. I'm not going to.
Okay, I'll put it to you this way. Flat out embarrassing, flat out despicable, flat out unacceptable. I'm looking at this team right now, and I see a team that I don't recognize. I see a team that I don't trust on both sides of the ball. We talked about this throughout the season, and the funny thing is though, and I'll be the first one to admit it, right? And I know I won't be the last. I was smitten, and we were befuddled, and we were fooled by what we saw by the Philadelphia Eagles. The fact of the matter is what we saw in week 1 is exactly who they are, a team that's inconsistent, a team that can't sustain drives, a team who struggles on defense. And you and I spoke about this in the offseason. We had a barometer, or a gauge rather, when we would expect this defense to sort of come together. And the fact of the matter is it seemed like they were going up a hill, and now they're plummeting. So I'm looking at this team right now. I don't trust them on the other side of the ball. I'm disgusted with coaching. I'm disgusted with the way the quarterback position is being played the past couple weeks. Jalen Hurts, 15 turnovers, more turnovers in one season. Well, more turnovers in 13 games played than he has in his last 2 seasons combined. So, wow. So when you think about it all from that perspective, everyone deserves to have the finger pointed at him. You know, it's the reason we have 10 fingers, right?
Yep.
We have 10 fingers because we're going to use all of them today. We're going to point at every single body in the building. Howie Roseman deserves blame for the way this team is looking right now. Nick Sirianni deserves blame. Brian Johnson, Sean Desai, Jalen Hurts, the defensive personnel. I see a team, you know, Seth Jordan said something really interesting last night on the post-game show. He said, I see a team that doesn't believe in the game plan anymore. And that, out of all the things he said last night, that stuck with me the most, because now I'm looking at not just the play call, I'm looking at just the overall game plan. I'm not a fan, and I've been talking about this week after week after week after week, and no one's really paid any attention to me. I am not a fan of the route concepts, and that's not me trying to take blame off Jalen Hurts. I feel like Jalen Hurts has been holding on to the ball way too long, but I also believe things work in unison. I'm not a fan of how long some of these routes take to develop. Some of these routes take 15, 20 yards to develop. My thing is, why aren't we incorporating the quick game? Why aren't we incorporating the RPO, which is going to allow the ball to get out of his hands quicker, right? Jalen Hurts, when you look at his stat sheet, outside of the turnovers, I can live with the stats outside of the turnovers. But because he has 15 turnovers and because he holds on, did you know he holds the ball the longest in the NFL? Out of everybody in the NFL, out of all certain quarterbacks, he holds the ball the longest. Why is that? He's not trusting what he's seeing. He's not trusting his ability to get the ball from point A to point B, and he doesn't have confidence in the game plan. He doesn't have confidence in the routes that's being run. And I watched that game from beginning to end, even though it was painful to watch. The offense, but even on the offense looked listless. They lacked intensity, but even on the defense side of the ball, the first drive, they lacked speed. They lacked pop. They lacked get off. It looked like they were running in mud. I'm watching the Cowboys defense, and it seems like they're playing at a different speed. 2 weeks in a row that the opposing team is playing at another speed than you are. And 3 turnovers, 3 fumbles in plus territory in the red zone, that cannot happen. So I'm pretty sure as this conversation develops between you and I, we're going to have more and more stuff to peel back. But so far, that's what I got off my chest right now. But again, I know I have way more to say.
The reason they look slow, and the conversation I had with Seth last week after my text to him, and he was shocked, and then he watched the game plan against the Cowboys. He put it together. And the reason they're slow is because it's not that they don't trust it. They feel they're being put in bad positions to win. And when you're being put in positions because of analytic teams and information you're getting, there were so many different things that Mike McCarthy did scheme-wise in that game.
What?
He just coached the shit out of that team.
Did you see Nick Sirianni's face on the sideline?
No. What did you see one time he went like this? What was that?
Wow. I brought it up on Sports Take. I'm like, Nick Sirianni just looked like somebody who saw football for the first time.
He went like this. What was that?
He looked like he did not know what was going on in front of him. He's just pacing on the sideline, just waiting for something to happen. And the offensive identity has no creativity whatsoever. This playbook, like I said before, this is the 2-5 Eagles play calling or playbook. This is the 2-5 Philadelphia Eagles with much more talent. I don't care what anybody says. I'm willing to argue with you. Matter of fact, I ain't got time to argue with you. You want to know why? Because I believe what I believe, and it is what it is, and my eyes are not lying to me. This is the 2-5 Philadelphia Eagles with more talent. And I'm seeing, it's no accident. It's no accident, right? 2-5 Philadelphia Eagles, right? They're trying to pass the ball down the field. It's not really working. They're not really incorporating the RPO. Then finally, Shane Steichen gets his hand on the play calling. And then you see Jalen Hurts start to form an identity of how he wants to play. You start him starting to make strides, right? That's the 9-8 season, the 2021 season. They lose in the playoffs, but your team turned around. You went 7-3 since the play calling change. All right, Jalen Hurts made strides. Year 2 with Shane Steichen in 2022. Jalen Hurts comes out like gangbusters. The RPO was going crazy. Jalen Hurts is arguably one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL at that time. He's an MVP candidate. He leads the Philadelphia Eagles to a Super Bowl. The offense looks like it can't be stopped.
And for the record, I'm paying $50 million for that version.
Exactly.
Of him.
And I'm gonna get there. You're paying $50 million for that, right? Remind you, Shane Steichen is the one that allowed that flower to blossom. So then Shane Steichen leaves. And then now Nick Sirianni and Brian Johnson are under helm. And now you see Jalen Hurts taking these steps back in terms of protecting the ball, in terms of reading the field, in terms of him trusting what he sees and being instinctual in the game, right? Because technically, if you look at his stats, he's not having a bad season, but the turnovers, we talk about it with Josh Allen. The numbers are great, but the turnovers, right? So again,
they're becoming critical turnovers.
They're becoming critical. They're becoming critical. So boom, that's that thread. The Nick Sirianni, Shane Steichen arc transition to Brian Johnson. You see the rise and you see the fall. Now let's go to the defensive side, right? Now, Seth Joyner brought this up last night on the postgame show, and it was fascinating because I haven't thought about it in a while. Jim Schwartz was here. He gave up over 500 yards in the Super Bowl, right? But he didn't want to talk about that. The fact of the matter is he was running the defense that was being ran. They won the game, so he didn't want to talk about that. He eventually leaves, right? He leaves, he takes a year off, then comes back, becomes a consultant for the Tennessee Titans. Then, after being a consultant there for a year, he goes to the Cleveland Browns and turns that defense around.
You're answering your own questions that you know.
I got you. I'm laying it all out. So then Jim Schwartz goes to Cleveland, turns that defense around. Granted, they have a Myles Garrett there, but the fact of the matter is, you saw what he was capable of doing with that level of talent with those pass rushers. It's a completely different defense. So then Jonathan Gannon comes. And we're not really fans of the way the defense is being called, but the numbers are on his side in year 1 and in year 2. So then year 3 comes. Jonathan Gannon goes to the Arizona Cardinals. Then Sean Desai takes over. We see a similar offensive game plan. No identity, no aggression, not playing closer to the line of scrimmage. You see the common thread here. The fact of the matter is this defense this defense for the Philadelphia Eagles is what Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni won't call. And then on the offensive side,
how come everyone fought me on this?
And then on the offensive side, Nick Sirianni acts like he doesn't know what to do with Jalen Hurts. It's insane to me. And the funny thing about it is, this is something that I've always known, but you try to repress it because you believe that winning cures all. And this is me being vulnerable with you now, Big Sills. This is me being vulnerable. Okay, so
you're not wrong though.
So don't take advantage of my vulnerability.
But no,
okay?
You're not wrong though. You're not wrong, because you know why? Even if something looks shitty and the result, it's not how you drive, Tone. It's how you arrive sometimes. So what people will do is they'll put to the side the method and go completely 100% in on the result, but then not knowing that that method is going to keep you consistent. So it's okay. It's a fundamental thing. When you see 10-1, I understand that. Okay, but with guys like Seth and I'm with you, Tone. I always thought it was a theory how the Eagles did business. I thought it was a theory until Frank last week laid it completely out how the analytics team does the talent, the game plans. The coaches take all information, how they draft, Nolan Smith. You take all the personality out of play calling and how coaching really supposed to be. And you see 10-1, and you'll exclude that, Tone, the method. Because you're a result guy. You want a Super Bowl. 500 yards, like you said. You can look at it, but at the end of the day, Jim Schwartz, in spite of what Howie and that front office did, those guys knew this. We got to play along here. I need 3 stops in that Super Bowl. If I get 3 Brady stops, we win. And at the end of the game, it was Schwartz needed 1 stop. 1 stop.
You know what's so crazy about it too? Listen to this. People forget Doug Peterson was fired before Carson Wentz got traded.
Yep.
He was fired before. See, the timeline matters. And they want us to forget about these things.
But they were talking back and forth.
Listen to this. They fired Doug before Carson got traded. They then hired Nick. Remember, Nick comes off the Frank Reich tree.
Right.
So they hired Nick in hopes that and this is a theory of mine. I have no prior knowledge or no source to back this up, but this is me just trying to put the breadcrumbs together, okay? So follow me here. Doug gets fired. That was the 4-11-1 season. Doug gets fired. They then hire Nick Sirianni, who was a protege of Frank Reich. We all know Carson Wentz was at his best under Frank Reich.
And Frank was the head coach at the Colts at the time.
Exactly. So they picked Nick Sirianni over Frank Reich's staff in hopes that would entice Carson Wentz to play ball for another season at the very least. Carson Wentz still wanted out because he did not want to compete with Jalen Hurts. That was the thing. They wanted Carson to compete going into that season. He said, you paid me. I'm not competing with nobody.
I think it's 38.
So at that point, a trade had to happen. They traded him for the Colts. I'm sorry. They traded him to the Colts. He didn't want to compete and he didn't want to be there. So therefore, they hired Nick Sirianni under the premise that Carson would stay. They put the cart before the horse, before they had the horse in the damn buggy. You follow me? So on the stable. So at that point, now Nick Sirianni has to find a way to maximize Jalen Hurts. Then they bring in Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon, all those guys, right?
And where was Shane?
So Shane was in was he in San Diego at that time? Or did Gannon was coming
Shannon
off of,
was in Indianapolis.
What Shane in? Okay, Shane wasn't in Indy at the time. You're right. I'm sorry. Shane was there in Indy at the time. Shane was there in Indy, and I think Gannon was in Minnesota.
Something like that. I think
he was in Minnesota. I think at the time.
Something like that.
He was with the Colts at one point, but I think he was in Minnesota as a DB coach.
They're all from that Mike McCoy, Doug Peterson, right. Frank Reich, all from those guys.
So Nick Sirianni is then tasked with coaching Jalen Hurts. That's not his kind of quarterback. It's not. He's a Phillip Rivers, Andrew Luck kind of guy. So that's how we got the 2-5 record. He tried to call plays as if that was Jalen Hurts' skill set. Shane Steichen's like, listen, Nick, this isn't working. If we're going to salvage this thing, We got to find a way to maximize this kid the right way.
Let me tell you
Steichen
what
comes in.
Let me tell
And
you
there we
what
go. The
Frank
rest is
said.
history.
Let me tell you what Frank said on the program 2 years ago. And Howard Eskin even used it on WIP.
Sirianni don't know what to do with that boy.
So
he don't know what to do with him.
He goes like this. I said, who called you to trade Carson Wentz? He goes, the owner. I said, who recommended Nick Sirianni? Because if you remember right, they were looking at Lincoln Riley. They were looking at Josh McDaniel. They were looking at a couple other guys to potentially be the head football coach in Philly. And Nick goes, you should look at Sirianni. Doug Peterson, the owner calls, and then Howie calls. So all of this was working during the whole Carson Wentz recommendation. This is a whole circle. Frank said it on the show, man, that he recommended Nick.
You see stuff like this?
To the Eagles.
We're just guessing.
I'm not guessing. Frank said it on the show.
No, not just you, but everything I said prior to that, right? I'm just guessing. Well, listen, right? When you follow the game, when you follow these deals, when you follow these transactions, and you're not just a fan, because I'm a fan of the team, but I also follow the transactions closely and I follow timelines. When you follow timelines and you see who people used to work with, you put the breadcrumbs together. It's called context clues. It's called educated guesses. It's called theories. Now, am I connected in an organization? Hell no. But I'm following timelines. I'm following people who are connected. And things aren't by accident or happenstance. This is what we get paid to do, Sills. We get paid to analyze.
By the way, again, anytime you put breadcrumbs together and you try to connect the dots,
now you're conspiracy theorists.
It's fact. It's a lot of it's theory. But when Frank Wright comes on my program last week and tells me how you do business in Philadelphia, and now we know why Doug was fired, and now everyone understands. That's why
we know why Doug was fired.
Do you know why
he didn't want to play ball?
Yeah, but it was a theory until Frank said it. And now I saw Seth. And when Seth was on the postgame show, he goes, I'm not going knee deep, because he knows this. The players don't believe in the game plan. It's not that, get this, Tone, it's not that they look slow. They don't know what to do, because the analytic guys are lost. See, the analytic guys, when things are going well, they know what to do against those shitty teams. But when you have to counter great coaching, Mike McCarthy, Kyle Shanahan, plus great players and really good quarterbacks who can dissect the secondary, when you have to play those guys aren't coaches. They don't have a feel for the game. They don't know what they're doing. And get this, it's counterintuitive to what coaches and coaching really is. You need to change on the fly. How many game plans did you see Belichick changing with Brady during games when they would show something completely different in Baltimore or with the Tony Dungy Indianapolis team? They had to change on the fly. That team can't change on the fly. That's why you're hearing the words predictability, because they don't. Bose is right. Let me say something to you about that comment. He's the wrong messenger because he got his ass kicked by Lane, but he's not wrong. They are so predictable because, get this, Tone, for me to take a game plan out on the Philadelphia Eagles right now, I go to 2021. It's the same one.
Exactly. Derek Gunn, he's connected. Derek Gunn, literally on the post. Did you hear Derek Gunn last night on the post-game show? He literally,
but I saw some of it.
Yeah, he literally said, and Derek Gunn is one of the most stand-up dudes in the business. Derek Gunn is connected. He has somebody that he spoke to close by, very, very close by. I'll leave it at that. They say, Derek Gunn said, yo, what's the problem? What's going on? The operative word, we're predictable. We're predictable. It's just that simple. You see, like, this isn't stuff that we just make up because it's fun. This isn't stuff that like we're not conspiracy theorists. We're doing our due diligence, watching timelines, watching who's connected to who, listening to people when they speak, watching the result, and then baking it all in. Okay. And right now, I told you this a while back. You asked me this. Did I trust Nick Sirianni? Or you asked me, no, I'm sorry. You asked me this. If Doug was in that Super Bowl 57, would he have won it? I said yes. And I believe he would have, because there were certain moments where Nick Sirianni failed this team and I lost trust in him. So ever since then,
failed it, or the analytics team failed with Nick and Howie?
It's fascinating because all year he was going with his instinct. And then when it got tight, he went with the analytics and he lost. That's how that looked to me.
You think the analytics team would have called that Philly special?
Hell no. Hell
That's
no.
all you need to
that
know.
That Super Bowl was won on pure instinct.
I bet you he had a conversation after that game with the owner and the GM what compelled him to do that. And I would have said this, like Elon Musk, go fuck yourself. And right there, get this, that play may have ended Doug Peterson's tenure and beginning of the downfall because he went against the analytics team.
It was no secret.
Nick's never going to go against that team.
Doug's firing and why he got fired is no secret. He got fired or relieved of duty, however they want to call it. He got let go because he did not want to play ball with Howie Roseman anymore.
Yep.
Doug wanted to bring in his own staff. He wanted to elevate Press Taylor to OC. He had a plan for the D. He had a plan. And when he went into that meeting with Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman with his plan, they said, nope, you're done.
Absolutely.
He took a year off, came back with the Jaguars, and is rebuilding that organization.
Absolutely. But
this
when you
this is not stuff we're making up here.
When you put that prospectus on the table to an organization that controls and here, this is really, again, we're now running in circles. That's the same thing they said about Chip. Here, let me throw this at you here. That organization cares more about control and controlling the purse strings than they do about the Super Bowl.
That's why I'm not mad at the Rams or the Buccaneers for doing what they did. They say, you know what? F them picks, F the cap, we're getting us a bowl. I respect it. Now, are they figuring it out right now? Sure they are. But I respect it because they told me they was all in.
Howie paid the quarterback and the team paid the price. And this is where I'm going with this. Howie knows over the next couple of years that he can't have big name guys, big money guys at the linebacker position, the safety position. He's playing economics with the defensive side of the ball. And what he's done is, and that's why you've got these spare part guys. And this is without a doubt a sign of why the 49ers are the best team in the league. Because you know why? I'll say it one more time to you. I got killed by many people in here.
They're not paying the quarterback.
I'd rather have Brock Purdy's situation than Jalen Hurts' situation.
They're not paying him.
I got 2 more years of that guy making $900,000.
And he's playing effective football. He's effective.
He's playing MVP football.
He's great.
Actually, he's doing what Jalen Hurts did last year. Economically, feasibly sounder and cheaper for the Niners. Think about what he's doing. In a way, not same style.
Because he's on a seventh round contract. So it's cheaper than a second round of contract. So you're right.
Okay. I mean, think about what he's doing right now. He's doing the things and playing MVP football for a team, different styles, all that. Team's number 1 in the league, number 1 seed in the NFC now. But he's not going to be talking, and they're not going to be talking about a contract. Why, Tone? Because they still got to recover those 3 ones they lost from Trey Lance. They're not going to deal with that contract with him until they get into the final summer, him going in to his final year.
Because they don't
so
have
that
to.
They can recover and make it justified that he covered the Trey Lance, especially if they win it. Can you imagine a quarterback making less than a placeholder and wins the Super Bowl? Next year, you have so much more autonomy to still pay people and bring people in. That's a gold mine. At the end of the day, the Trey Lance thing was a disaster. The Brock Purdy thing is an unbelievable fountain of wealth.
Yep. The fact of the matter is that, everything that we're talking about, it just goes back to say the Philadelphia Eagles right now, even with the 10-3 record, have real problems. They have real problems on that defense side of the ball. They have real problems with this coaching staff who seems that they can't get their head out of their asses. I've never seen one thing about Doug. He never looked confused. Like, again, Jalen Hurts has to protect the ball. A.J. Brown, you got to protect the ball. Devontae Smith, you got to protect the ball. And I don't like the position they put in the defensive line. And do you think it's fair to this defensive line to tell them they have to win every single down, every single day? Can you imagine, you're in a company, right? And everybody else has a role to play. But everyone keeps saying, listen, if y'all don't do y'all part, we're all going to fail. And it's like, well, hold on, wait. It's 100 of us in this building. You can't just say if 20 of us don't do our job, the whole building gonna crush down. That don't make no damn sense. Everybody got to play their role.
That's a
And
great comment by this last guy here in the super chat when
Big
he says,
Marshall.
"How do you explain 10-1?" I'll easily explain it to you. And it's something that you guys hear all the time.
Talent,
The
man.
NFL is a copycat league.
Talent.
And once someone gets exposed and there's a game plan to expose that particular unit, player, what have you, there's game film on you now. And and then guess what they started figuring out? The Eagles aren't going to run those RPOs anymore. They're not going to run the RPOs. I see we're having a little connection issues here. I'll come back here in a second.
I got you.
And I'm going like this. I'm like, who did the Cowboys establish in that game on Sunday, Tone? Ferguson. Ferguson was established. He was the top receiver.
Oh, was he really?
Yeah.
I thought CD was.
Nope.
Let me do, because I think you're right. I just want to double check though.
Yep.
Because it got to I told you this before. It got to a point where I just stopped paying attention. So let me just pull it up real quick. Okay, so box score.
Ferguson had one less catch and one more yard.
Okay, see, CD had 10 targets. Okay, see, I felt like early in that game they were trying to establish Pollard because Pollard had 16 carries,
59 yards.
He had 16 carries and 7 receptions on 8 targets.
Okay.
So, I mean, the bottom line is, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm so glad you said that.
But they knew Jake could take out them backers.
Yes, exactly. But here's the thing, right? Here's what I want you to follow me on. What was so egregious about that game also was the fact that you saw just how creative Mike McCarthy was.
Oh God!
And the lack of creativity on the Eagles side. You saw
he's going to be up for Coach of the Year.
Mike McCarthy was running jet sweeps with CeeDee Lamb and then Turpin, and then he had these wraparound motions, and he was doing everything using tight ends to chip the edge, using wide receivers to chip the edge guy, and they utilized their entire repertoire of weaponry. And I'm looking at this coaching staff, and I'm thinking to myself, why are we so hell-bent? Listen, I have nothing but respect and love for John McMullen, nothing but respect for him. But he always proposes the theory that this team, when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles, follow the money. They're going to put the ball in their big money guys' hands. It's just that simple, right? I don't buy into that, right? Now, maybe that is their methodology. Maybe
that put it into this is an analytics.
But listen, maybe that is their philosophy, right? Follow the money, big money guys. You got a better chance of getting things done with AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. But my thing is this, right? I'm looking at the 49ers. I'm looking at the Cowboys, and they're putting the ball in everybody's hands. They're using the analytics to help them, not necessarily work against them.
Because the coach is going to
there's more creativity.
McCarthy, what's happened with McCarthy this year, as Dak's play has elevated, Jerry Jones is more believing what he's doing. And here's a simple way of looking at it, Tone. Kellen Moore in Los Angeles, Herbert in the offense is worse.
Yes, they're worse.
And Kellen Moore, when he was in Dallas, they get rid of him. It's been an upgrade for Dallas's offense with McCarthy. I mean, if you're Jerry, you're going like this.
You know what they did?
Shit. This guy is a good play designer.
You know what they did?
A good play caller.
They took some of the cooks out of the kitchen.
Yeah, because now you have a guy, and you know what he's probably saying without saying it, and Jerry respects it. I told you, you wanted to keep Kellen Moore when I got the job. Fine. And now, you know what he's doing? He's playing along. You know how going along? By making Dak better. Hey, get this. He's going to get Dak paid $55 million. Dak's going to make more than Burrow.
If Dak not going nowhere.
He ain't going nowhere now.
Exactly. He's not going anywhere. And again, I don't believe in just putting the ball in a guy's hands because of how much he's making. I don't believe in that. I believe in putting the ball in the guy's hands that's either open or I
And
believe
making it happen.
and making it happen. I believe in utilizing guys, being intentional with getting certain guys open. Just because you're paying a guy $25 million, that don't mean he got to be your end all be all. Now, if it's a guy to have it drive or a guy to have it down, okay, I'm gonna go to my sure-handed guy. But as far as weaving together a game plan and stringing together play calls and being creative and utilizing all your limbs, in this battle that you're fighting. It's like, why would you go into a battle with one arm and one leg tied behind your back? Why would you do that when you have?
Because you're the Eagles.
Why would you do it though?
Ego, power. Here's why I've been critical today of Hurts. People are going like this. Well, Sills, do you really think he's a one-year wonder in Philly? Yeah. And they go, wow, you don't really. I go, wait, first off, you won 17 games. You gave him $50 million. Then what you proceeded to do, you took away what I loved about the game of the kid.
As soon as you paid him, you took away his superpower.
As soon as you paid him, you changed him. And get this, even Patrick Mahomes has admitted, even Michael Vick has admitted, you expedited the kid's development by taking the RPO out. That was something that was the top part of his game. And then get this, turnovers are higher. Well, you're changing him to do different things now. That's not a $50 million quarterback, dude, that has 15 turnovers and is a turnover machine this year. That's not what I paid for. This is the problem of the Eagles. This isn't really a Hurts thing.
Now, why do you think they're doing it?
This is more of a front office issue.
Why do you think they're doing it because they don't want him to get hurt? Because if you say that's the case, it's counterintuitive. You want to know why? Because if their motive is to protect him, why the hell are you running him on every other play, a quarterback draw? If your goal is to protect him, you from the RPO,
because they think they know better,
you're running quarterback draws. Make it make sense. Hey, we're not running RPOs because we want to protect him.
Who says that a librarian is going to make sense in a coaching game? It makes total sense. Here's why, Tone. You just answered it. You know why it doesn't make sense? You got people who are not coaches making indecision or making in-game opinions on what play should be run at that particular moment. You're answering what is going on. You just said that one. Here's another one for you. Why you play 10 yards off the ball the last 3 years? Aren't you tired of asking that?
And then when you actually play up, you don't put no hands on the guy. So what's the point? What's the point of playing up if you can get your ass beat?
We get this. They have us in a toilet bowl that won't flush. It just keeps going perpetually round and round and round and round and round. And you know what? It's called, like, I don't know. I'm a historian. There's a thing called the Tweed Circle. And you know what the Tweed Circle was? He was a boss. Tweed in New York City was a mayor. And everybody would complain about the way the city was being built or whatever. And it was called the Tweed Circle. You'd go to one department, the highway department. You'd go to legal. You'd go to this. And they would keep sending you in this circle. And you keep asking the same question. Eventually you get tired of asking that question and you quit. See, what they've done is with that 10-1, they've snow jobbed the entire fan base and everyone and the media, because you look at it, we all saw this come. This was like a tsunami coming. Okay? This was like a tsunami. Tone, the only reason that, and by the way, I don't blame you, because me and Seth were both like this. Every time when Angelo comes on, dude, how can he bitch about 10-1? You know, it almost, but me, you know, my personality is I don't see 10-1. Remember what I kept telling these people? Mm-hmm. I don't see 10-1. I see what I watch on the field. Because as a former player, Seth got caught into this, man. Tone,
he said it. You know,
I told him
he said
last week, I go, dude, just because they're 10-1, how many teams? Remember that team a year ago Pittsburgh had that was 11-0? Mm-hmm. Minnesota had a team like that. Then they fell on their face.
He said it last night.
Yeah, but he goes, but this team went to the Super Bowl. I go, I know, and it makes it harder to kick a team like that. But dude, you see what's going on. We both saw it. I kept going, I don't think they have good coaches. I just do not, and I don't think personnel. my only miss was on this one, Tone, and I think you and I were both on this one. I thought it would get better.
Yes.
By week 8. I thought it
Yes.
would get better, but it went the opposite way.
And the offense is getting worse. So that tells me people are catching up to your simple ass game plan. That's what that is.
Predictability.
You know what I mean? Exactly. And Seth fully admitted it last night. He said, look, I've been drinking the Kool-Aid because of winning. And the fact of the matter is, when you decide to step out on that ledge, people want to kill you for criticizing a 10-1 team. But look where we are. They're 10-3 now. And here's the reality. Here's the fact of the matter, because I want to expand the conversation real quick, beyond just the organization, right? The fact of the matter is, we're not paying attention to the Packers. We're not paying attention to the Vikings. We don't give a damn about the Lions or the Seattle Seahawks. The fact of the matter is, Eagles fans need to wake the hell up and pay attention to this. Before the season started, there were 3 teams that we all universally felt like could come out of the NFC. The Philadelphia Eagles, the 49ers, and the Cowboys, in no particular order. We all felt like those were that was the 3-headed monster that people needed to pay attention to. And guess what? The Philadelphia Eagles had a chance to face off with the 49ers. They got their ass whooped. They faced off with them twice. They narrowly beat them the first time, and they got their ass whooped the second time. So you mean to tell me I'm supposed to believe that this Philadelphia Eagles team, as they're presently constructed, as they're presently planned today on December 11th at 3:06 Central Time, 4:06 Eastern Time, 1:06 your time, I'm supposed to believe that this team can run with those teams in the playoffs. I'm supposed to believe that today.
No way.
No way.
No
After
way.
what we just saw in back-to-back weeks,
No way.
It was the worst thing that could happen, but it was the best thing that could happen. Because
Ravens are better.
You saw them in back-to-back weeks against their real competition, against the teams that you're going to be measured up against, and they're the 3rd best team in their conference, arguably. Some might say the Lions are better. I'm not willing to go that far.
Let me go here. You think they go to Seattle and win?
I'm not like. Listen, the only thing I'm locking this team in on, the only thing I'm locking this team in close to is the damn film room. I can't lock them in nowhere else.
So
I'm
you
locking
can't
them in the
go
film
to
room.
Seattle right now because you're still looking at what
I can't make any predictions about this team. I
don't
can't.
trust them.
I don't. There was a point where we said, we can't trust the defense, but at least we expect the offense to be better, right? Remember we said that?
Yep.
I don't trust them at all. I don't trust it. When was the last time you said to yourself, I don't trust this 10-3 team? I don't trust them.
I don't know if I've ever said that.
Like, come on.
I mean,
but we have some Eagles fans.
Is Seattle underwater right now? Are they 6-7? I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that they're 6-7. I think Tone's frozen here a little bit. So we'll see if we can get this back here. But hey, guys, is Seattle? Hey, Tone, is Seattle 6-7?
You got me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is Seattle 6-7?
Seattle is. Let me double check this really quickly. Sorry about that signal. My internet acting up a little bit too. So okay, 6-7. Seattle is 6-7. Correct.
Boy, I never have said this. 10-3 versus 6-7. I don't know if Philly could go in there and win.
I don't trust them. What do you want me to say?
I got it.
See, because it'd be different if they lost to the 49ers and Cowboys, but damn, they lost by a possession. You know what I mean? That's something totally different. Because you know what that would say to me? They could say, okay, the Eagles are kind of sluggish right now, but I know they can run with those teams. I know a player or two different there, a call different there. It probably would have been a different result. They got demolished.
How about this, Tone? Don't you agree? Okay, they are doing something. Now, let's be positive for this. Okay?
Let's try.
Let's try to be positive on this. After what we know historically happens to teams after a Super Bowl and how they don't get back.
Mm-hmm.
The record is surprising, but the method kind of doesn't match up. And what we're being fooled on is that we thought that this team, because when they were 10-1, wow, man, they came back like no team since the Patriots and the what is it, the Dolphins and the Bills and shit teams like that have gone back after losing Super Bowls. I mean, you're like, it's very historic. I mean, they ran out of gas, dude. I mean, can it just be, Tone? People caught up, like you said. They ran out of gas, shitty talent, Howie miscalculated, and it all tumbled down. Here, I'll give you an example. Look at Kansas City.
Isn't it real quick before you go? Isn't it fascinating how the two teams that were in the Super Bowl last year, the two teams, Eagles and Chiefs, have suffered back-to-back losses in the same weeks?
Because I think it's philosophically why, and I'm going to show you why. That's because I'm going to use Kansas City. So Kansas City got rid of Tyreek Hill. They won a Super Bowl. Then they got rid of Eric Bieniemy. Now it becomes a cumulative thing where you have two people and pieces no longer that were instrumental. You may have been able to survive one of them, but both of them have now become detrimental to that. And you look at what the Eagles have done. The Eagles thought, oh, I thought I could get rid of TJ Edwards. We lose both our coordinators. Okay. I think everything became cumulative, and all of a sudden it came crashing down. Now you've got Kansas City unraveling in their own locker room, and you've got a football team now that's unraveling on the field. I don't think Philadelphia is unraveling in the locker room. I think that'll be a long way away. I don't really have issues with that unless the offense starts getting pissed off at the defense.
Yeah, we're not seeing guys.
That means you get pissed off at Howie.
Yeah, we're not seeing guys on the sideline.
Mad at the coaches.
Yeah, you're right, because you bring up a good point about Kansas City. In that game last night or yesterday, that sideline was literally unraveling. I've never seen Patrick Mahomes embarrass himself yesterday.
He did.
He embarrassed himself.
Yeah, he acted like a brat.
He act like that's himself. But the only thing, like you said, the Philadelphia Eagles, I'm not seeing that on the sideline.
No,
I'm not seeing that. So but I don't care about that because
I'm with you. That doesn't. Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah. I don't care what AJ Brown says. You know what I mean? So, but the fact of the matter is, to your point about the positive side, what they're trying to achieve is almost insurmountable.
Yeah,
it's hard. And are our expectations through the roof? Yes. Are they unrealistic? That's probable. But when you have a team that sets this standard that they so-called want to play up to or live by, see, this is what's happening right now, Sills. This is what's happening in the city of Philadelphia. We've adopted the quarterback's mantra. We've adopted the quarterback's mindset, keeping the main thing, playing to the standard. You know what I mean? Seeking perfection but falling on greatness, right? We've adopted his mindset, but now,
yeah, but that's conditioning.
That's
conditioning.
No, I got you. We've fallen victim. The team and us, we've fallen victim to the quarterback's mantra. We've fallen victim to the message. And what I'm saying is, what I mean by that is, we're holding the team to their standard.
Yeah, but wait a minute.
It's making us view them unfairly.
But truly, and here, watch this. So let's go. They beat Seattle. Okay. They beat Dallas. They beat Kansas City. They beat the Bills.
They beat Miami.
Number one seed in the NFC, or second seed in the NFC right now.
They beat Miami.
And they lose to the Niners and the Cowboys. You split a division. You're 3-2, and you end the season 13-4. I mean, Tone, at the end of the day, are you mad
14-3 if you
3-2 through that gauntlet and it's the two teams and it's the way you got beat? Or are you looking, because you said this, because you know exactly what we talk about all the time, is that it's a week-to-week proposition. I think the Cowboys are going to lose to the Bills back, actually. And they end up 13-4. We come back walking out here on this, and you're like, well, they beat the Cowboys, they beat the Chiefs, they beat the Bills, and they lost to the Niners, who they'll see again, and they split with a division foe. Okay, I mean, why are you upset with that?
So to your point, right? Because you said if they beat Seattle. So if they beat Seattle, that would put in my opinion, they win out. So that's 14-3.
Okay,
but
what are you
that's
talking about
that's
then?
even more to your point. That's even more to your point. I guess what I'm trying to say is, are you asking, am I more upset by the way they lost, or
Who they lost to,
or who they lost to? Is that,
or both?
It's both. But here's the thing, right? It's more so
you
how
still think that 14-3 is fool's gold?
It's more so how they lost.
So that 14-3 record would still be fool's gold to you.
And I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell you, no, listen, hear me out.
As that cheesesteak conversation.
I'm gonna tell you why. hear me out on this. Hear me out on this. I need you to really hear me out on this, Sills. Hear me out. See, I would feel differently if they got blown out by the Chiefs, blown out by the Bills, but they beat the Cowboys, but they beat the Niners. See, here's my problem.
They have beaten the Cowboys.
But hear me out on this. How you lost gives me cause to pause, but also, yeah, you beat the Bills. Yeah, you beat the Dolphins. Yeah, you beat the Chiefs. Yeah, you beat the Chiefs. But you're not going to see them, God forbid, you're not going to see them until maybe the Super Bowl if you get there. That's if you get there. But the Chiefs, I'm sorry, but the Niners, but the Cowboys, you're going to have to see them again in the playoffs. So to me, I'm measuring myself up against the Cowboys and the Niners, not necessarily the Chiefs and the Bills and the Dolphins, because I had to run through them.
So if the Bills beat the Cowboys, okay, I mean, we're back to square one again, where we're talking, okay, you beat a team in overtime, you beat the Cowboys, you split with them.
Right, right, we have.
Some teams get blown out. I'm not trying.
Well, you know what it is?
I'm not trying.
I know what you're doing.
Like
you're trying to have me
this shit pie here.
Right.
I'm not trying to do that. But what I am saying, remember something. This is a marathon to the finish.
It is.
So
it is.
You're in the
micro
it's Monday right now, looking at those 2 weeks in a row. And by the way, I'm not saying it's not troublesome. It totally is troublesome.
Also, it's
Wasn't
Monday.
It troublesome for the Niners when they went on a 3-game losing streak?
That's very true.
That's true. That was just 3 weeks ago.
You're right. You're so right. Also, it's Monday, so it's fresh. So
think about it.
So I'm still working my way off this thing.
Brock Purdy's turned back into the pumpkin. He's not the guy any longer. Now he's MVP. Look at how fast that narrative changes. And this is why I kept saying all week, don't go by the record of what you're doing. Go by what you're doing right now. Look at who you are right now. Because if you continue to keep putting these wins up, let the fricker play out. Because at the end of the day, Tone, you may still end up 14-3, 28-6 over the last 2 years, still win the East and get home field advantage, and you still got killed twice, and you're going to be at home. Wouldn't you want the chips to fall where they may if you had home field? I
understand exactly what you're saying.
And by the way, that's a reality. That's not some fish.
Yeah. It's not impossible. Right. It's just, again, I'm looking at this, like you said, like who are you today? And as of right now, the Philadelphia Eagles got blown out by their two pieces of competition in their conference. And you're right. The fact of the matter is, you split with the Cowboys. That's something we thought was going to happen, and it played out. Right. So that's not the biggest deal. But let me ask you this.
I picked them to lose in Dallas.
Let me ask you this though, right? That Niners loss, didn't it feel like, well, I'm a fan, so I don't know if you'll answer this, but didn't it feel, the way they lost, didn't it feel like 2 losses? The Cowboys game, the way they lost, didn't it feel like 2 losses?
Knocked the starch out of them for the Cowboy game.
Didn't it feel like, so my point is, even though they only lost 2 games through the stretch,
remember what I told you?
Didn't it feel like 4 losses?
Remember what I told you? Teams that play San Francisco the next week are 1-26.
That's true. The week after they play, that's a real stat. The week after you play San Francisco, you typically lose, especially if you lose the game. So that's a real stat.
You're 1-20. Teams are 1-26
after playing San Fran.
After playing San Fran.
You're right. And I forgot about that stat until you just said it. I forgot about that.
Because they play physical ball. They beat you up. By the way, I heard you guys dumping on Josh Sweat. guys, he's in a new. Guess what?
Well,
he's
I
doing
wasn't.
right now?
I wasn't really dumping on Sweat.
Guess what
but-
he's doing right now? He's basically starting the 2024 season
Mhm.
this past Sunday, which means he's playing more reps than he's ever played in his entire professional career for a 1-year span. And
I
now
understand.
he's starting another year.
I understand where you're coming
He's
from.
complete. But the Eagles failed him in getting some help for him.
I agree.
That's
yeah.
Howie.
Right. I understand where you're going from. Me, I was more so ripping Slay and Bradbury. Slay and Bradbury
Terrible.
look like
They're completely lost.
I'll be honest. I know Bradbury's probably going to be here another year because you got money tied up in him. But Slay, I'm sorry, I'm off the Slay train. You're named Darius now. Like I'm off of it. I'm off of it. They need to move on from Slay. I'm watching him yesterday, and I'm watching Bradbury yesterday,
about him.
and they were constantly being caught out of position, constantly just grabbing, hanging on for dear life, flailing their body. They just looked like they had no body control, no fundamental or technique. It just looked terrible.
Wait a minute.
It looked bad.
How can you ask two corners to play technique when your technique comes in man? It doesn't come in zone. All you're doing, zone, when you play zone, don't get beat deep. When you have to actually cover someone and run for someone and run with, and I heard Seth say this last night. You know why he reached out and grabbed him? Because he didn't have faith in his technique. And that's why you guys had 10 penalties for like 9.
They had over 100 yards of penalties.
That's
a whole field.
You gave up an entire football field and field position. And get this, they ran 82 plays on you. You had 2 weeks ago, you gave 82 plays or 90 some plays. Dude, this thing really comes back to Howie again.
Listen to this.
Comes back to Howie.
Listen to this. Did you know the Philadelphia Eagles gave the Cowboys 4 first downs off of penalties? 4 first downs off of penalties.
Look.
They had a total of 10 penalties, 95 yards.
That's another reason why I picked the Cowboys, because of the 1-26 record.
Did you see the Keely Ringo penalty? How the hell, you and I know we're running
I've
a long
never
time
seen
here.
anything like that in my entire time.
I've never seen that in my life.
Never.
You get
and then
beat.
The next play,
you get beat. You get beat. Then first they call you on pass interference. Then on the same play, after you do the pass interference, you face mask them. So they gave you the pass interference at the spot, and then tack on another 15 for the face mask. And then the next play after that, you get hurdled by Ferguson. In 2 plays, he had to give up at least 30 or 40 yards of offense.
Who thought that was smart to put him in?
That's how you know they're just throwing shit at the wall so it can stick. Keely Ringo ain't see a field all season.
Man, that's a terrible coaching staff.
See, when Keely Ringo's in that field, that told me how desperate they were.
Dude, it's get this. Keon goes like this. That was his first action. His first
action. That's the point.
Okay. His first action. Okay. Don't you think you might have put him in a position to win first? Give him some confidence? Instead, you've destroyed his confidence. It's not that easy. I told you this, Tone, before. My first game I got into, it goes like this. Wow, I got a minus. Okay, what do I have to? The next play. Okay, I look up, it's 10 plays. It took 10 seconds. I got 4 minuses. I'm like, holy shit. Then do I line up here? Is it 3:30? Hut! And you're going, oh my God. And that's what that looked like to me. The game was so fast for him. At that moment, you know what? He was not prepared for that moment. And that's a coach's decision on putting inept talent in a position to fail. That is 100% coaching. I'm not even talking about the kid's ability yet.
Right.
You don't put kids. Then the reason they attacked him like that next is because they knew he did not. Dude, when you get 2 penalties on you, Dak knew immediately where to go next. I'm going right at him. That's the weakest part. When they had Ringo on the field, he was the weakest link in the entire.
He targeted them right away.
Team already.
Right away. It took no time. So again, like, you know, we could put a button on it like this. If I want to point the finger at anybody for yesterday, and again, we could point at a lot of people, but if I had to point the finger at anybody, that coaching staff deserves the biggest part of the blame yesterday. They looked like they didn't belong in the league.
Absolutely,
Flat out.
man. Absolutely. Tone, great stuff. I appreciate it.
Big Sills, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for letting me take over the show.
You got it, man. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.